Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. Hexer is here, and today we will be reviewing and showcasing a set utilizing the new Arch-Tempered Vaal Hazak gear, as well as a setup to counter Vaal Hazak. Now, this will be a lifesteal/life regen oriented build, but I wanted to focus on something that was a little dragon damage oriented that could easily be swapped out for something useful should you decide to switch it up and change for a fight that isn't Vaal Hazak. But we'll get to that later. Now, for the weapon, we do have the Dual Blades Wrathful Predation, augmented with both affinity and health regen. Next, we have the Vaal Hazak Helm, Chest and Coil Gamma, the Vangus Braces Beta, Dante's Leather Boots, as well as a Handicraft 3 Charm. Now, after Jewel Socketing, the skills that we will have are the Vaal Hazak Vitality, which allows us to passively regen health past the red bar, Recovery up 3 to increase incoming health by 30%, Recovery Speed 3 to quadruple that passive health regen, Weakness Exploit 3 for the 50% affinity to weak points, Handicraft 3 to give us a moderate amount of white sharpness, Latent Power 3 which gives us 30% affinity and reduces stamina usage by 30% for 90 seconds after taking 150 damage. Next, we have the Effluvia Resistance 3 to negate the Miasma from Vaal Hazak, Dragon Attack 2 to bring the weapon's Dragon Attack to a cap of 230. Next, we have Peak Performance 2 for an additional 10 attack damage while at full health. And finally, we have Protected Polish 1 for that 1 minute of protected white sharpness. But let's go ahead and take a look at the jewels we socketed to achieve these stats. Alright, so we have a Flawless Jewel in the helm, a Sharp Jewel in the chest, a Throttle Jewel in the gloves, a Tenderizer, Recovery, and Miasma Jewel in the waist, and 2 more Miasma Jewels in the boots. But let's go ahead and see how this setup fares against Arch-Tempered Vaal Hazak. Alright, so for this fight I did start with an attack up large food buff, and I was lucky enough to get the Defender high food buff skill, so this really should be a fairly easy fight. Now, I'm sure you noticed since we are using the dual blades, I did grab that Wiggly Glitchy over there. That will really help us out in the beginning since it will reduce our stamina consumption here early on. Now, I am going to attempt this fight without the use of any of those attack up items such as Demon Powder, Might Seed, Demon Drug, or any of those that you'll usually see me end up using in most of my other videos. Now, we're going to go ahead and start off here with a Rocksteady Mantle, just sharpening here for that 1 minute of white sharpness. And then I'm going to go ahead and go straight into Mega Demon mode here. Oop, that's not how I wanted to start, but that's okay. Now, usually I'm not a big fan of latent power, but in this fight particularly, it's extremely easy to rack up that damage taken to proc the effect. So effectively, we're pretty much going to keep latent power's effect up almost the entire fight. So that's an extra 30% affinity and a 30% stamina reduction for continual stamina usage. That's a big deal. Really, that's just going to be done because of that miasma damage around us. And with that additional life steal/life regen, this is going to be very manageable to maintain just to take that extra damage and heal it back up. And that way we can be extremely aggressive and swing and flurry away here. Now, one thing to note, it really should be explained better in the game. A lot of players already know this, but for those of you who don't, Vaal Hazak does have a 3-star dragon weakness. However, it only applies to parts that have already been broken. If a part is not broken, Vaal Hazak is actually immune to dragon damage, so keep that in mind. But even still, the high raw damage here from the dual blades should be enough to break the parts and start giving you that extra damage, allowing us to really effectively snowball the fight once parts start breaking off. Now, even though this is a lifesteal build, don't get too cocky. Arch-Tempered Vaal Hazak can still hit like a truck, and it's best to try to stay closer to full health if at all possible. It's okay to back off if you need to either sharpen or heal. I mean, you do have 50 minutes to clear this one. It's not a time attack. And while it's fun to get those sub 10 minute clears on Arch-Tempered monsters, it's not mandatory. Especially if you're playing in a group setting. Don't try to be the guy that goes try hard only to be the one who ends up carding. It's better to add an extra 3 to 5 minutes to the hunt than to wipe and cart and fail, wasting 10 to 20 minutes of the group's time, only to having to start all over again. It'll end up irritating a lot of your group mates. Honestly, passive is going to be a little bit better of a way to go in this scenario. Now, previously, I did mention a setup for non-Vaal Hazak. It's actually rather easy. All you really have to do is swap the 3 Miasma Jewels for 3 Expert Jewels. If you do this, you'll completely negate your negative affinity. Simple enough, right? Another option, though, if you do not have the Sharp Jewel, swap Dante's Boots for the Death Stench Heal. Drop the Vangus Braces for the Kaiser Alpha Gloves. And that way you can throw in another Flawless Jewel to get Peak Performance 3. Also, this will give you Handicraft 5, maxing out that sharpness and leaving you with 4 single slot sockets available. So you can either put in the 3 Miasma Jewels plus 1 other, or if you're not doing Vaal Hazak, that's 4 Expert Jewels, putting you at a positive 5% affinity, completely negating that negative affinity on this weapon. So I really feel like that's the best alternative I could come up with, since I have seen in previous comments on other videos that Sharp Jewel isn't available for everyone, and I get that. It's a hard jewel for many players to come by, so hopefully that helps. Your damage might suffer a little bit for that swap up or that swap out due to the affinity loss overall, but it should help tremendously, especially for non-Vaal Hazak fights, since you can socket 4, again, those 4 Expert Jewels, negating that negative affinity, and even getting that extra 10 attack by getting that 3rd peak performance in there. Another great point that I forgot to mention about this weapon. It has high Elder Seal. This is a godsend when fighting Arch-Tempered monsters, because it will reduce the amount of time that Vaal Hazak has that Miasma aura up. That aura is dealing double the amount of usual damage, so again, aggressive playstyle is going to benefit heavily in this situation, bringing it down a lot faster. The more you're hitting it, the more chance your Elder Seal has a chance to knock him out of that aura. Now, lately with a lot of the new weapons, I feel like a lot of players have forgotten about or put a back seat to a lot of those Elder Seal weapons. They are, in my opinion, being overlooked and underrated. If you are having difficulties with your current build, think about a weapon with high Elder Seal. It could be the difference between your teammate running out of potions and carting, or simply the timing you need to get in and make a flurry of attacks to get back to full health with this build. Now, I know peak performance is not ideal for this fight, just because it's extremely hard to maintain with all the incoming damage over and over. But since we are only socketing 1 Flawless gem, I still really feel like it's best in slot. There are other gems that you could recommend over this, but in those moments, the critical moments, like knockdowns or staggers, when you're flurrying, you're gonna be at full health. Your lifesteal will be hitting fast enough and hard enough to keep you at full health and not drop you down, even when you're completely within that miasma. But if you wanted to swap it out, you could swap in something like Agitator or an Attack Jewel to get something of similar results. An Attack Jewel might pull you forward in the long run in most situations. I did try it out. I threw it in, and it really didn't seem to make much of a difference at all for me. But feel free to go ahead and try it if you know. I mean, sheet-wise, it technically does add up better just to use an attack up 1 jewel, but maybe I'm just a little OCD with my skills. Now, I'm sure you noticed here that I have Vaal Hazak trapped in the hallway here. This is an excellent tactic for solo play if you know what you're doing. This allows, again, for that hyper-aggressive playstyle, and Vaal Hazak has nowhere to run. This will allow you to get all your flurry combos in, get all your attacks in Mega Demon mode without having to chase Vaal down. Again, though, this is a double-edged sword. because you are in close proximity with Vaal Hazak. It could end up costing you a cart if you are not careful. As you see here, I just took a nice little chunk. So be careful with that. If you do end up getting hit, get out and heal. Alright, so it looks like we have Vaal limping at this point, so we should be pretty close to finishing him. Now, we really want to stick to him, try and get some staggers off. Now, another important thing to mention... Oh, let me go ahead and dodge this. Oh, never mind. Another important thing to mention, Arch-Tempered Vaal Hazak can only be hit by one flash pot, so use it wisely. Typically, this is where I would use it to keep him from escaping, because if Vaal does get to the final area, he will break the dam holding up the pool of miasma, which will tear through your health. Trust me on this, you do not want Vaal going back to sleep. So try to do everything in your power to keep him from getting back to that final area if at all possible. Come on, there we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and see how much time did we get on that. Alright, so 8 minutes, 52 seconds. Again, that was without any attack up items, so this is an extremely effective build and quite easy to stick to Vaal and just throw in some serious damage. But I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch the video. If you did enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Also, if you want to know what videos are due to be released next, there is a schedule in the description link just below. Oh, nice. So check that out. If you would like to see a particular weapon or build, feel free to leave a request in the comments below. And as always, happy hunting.